talking about is science. Mostly very, very state-of-the-art and modern science. And I'm going to merge it with the oldest science that there is, that we know of. Okay? So now, even though the ancient science that was bequeathed to us by the Egyptians is not recognised as science, that's how they considered it, and I'm going to prove that we can merge the two, the old and the new. Now, I want to start off with talking about our institutions. Everything we've been taught by our institutions is absolutely false. Right? Everything, the whole lot. All our institutions, the ones we trust in the most, that we think we should be able to get some answers and some truth, the religious institutions, are the ones that are failing the world the most. They're leading people astray and they're lying. And we're finding more and more corruption at the top of all the religions in the world. And we see it in politics. We all know that politicians are very, very corrupt, and we see corruption everywhere. Right, now, what I hope to do this evening, what I hope to achieve, is to share with you some knowledge that will help you to understand how we got into this situation and how we can get out of it. And this knowledge has been suppressed for many thousands of years now, and it's just science. It's science that if we are able to practice it on this earth, we will have peace. We will have all the good things that we were meant to enjoy on this planet. Now, I want to read you some quotes. You may have heard these before. Our society is run by insane people for insane objectives. I think we're being run by maniacs for maniacal ends, and I think I'm liable to be put away as insane for expressing that. That's what's insane about it. Who said that? John Lennon. Yeah. He got whacked for that. Believe me, he got whacked for that, because he was preaching peace in a time when Nixon needed war, and all his Illuminati elite families, the warmongers that are on this planet. Our society, here's another one. Howard Zinn, failure to quit. Howard Zinn. Civil disobedience is not our problem is civil obedience. Our problem is that numbers of people all over the world have obeyed the dictates of the leaders of their government and have gone to war, and millions have been killed because of this obedience. Our problem is that people are obedient all over the world in the face of poverty and starvation and stupidity and war and cruelty. Our problem is that people are obedient when our jails are full of petty thieves, and all the while the grand thieves are running the country. How's this one? Benjamin Disraeli. This is about 150 years ago. Former Prime Minister, British Prime Minister. Governments do not govern. This is the Prime Minister of the British Commonwealth, man. This is the empire that ruled the world. And the man at the top of that said, governments do not govern, but merely control the machinery of government, being themselves controlled by a hidden hand. By a hidden hand. This world is governed by very different people from what is imagined by those who are not behind the scenes. Let me read that again. Benjamin Disraeli again. The world is governed by very different people from what is imagined by those who are not behind the scenes. Leo Tolstoy wrote the book War and Peace. In all history, there is no war which was not hatched by the governments. The governments alone, independent of the interests of the people, to whom war is always pernicious, even when successful. Here's another quote from Leo Tolstoy. Government is an association of men who do violence to the rest of us. Thomas Jefferson. A democracy is nothing more than mob rule, where 51% of the people may take away the rights of the other 49. So, it's not me saying that our institutions are corrupt. They are corrupt to the core. And we must, if we're going to survive, we need to do something about this. John Lennon was killed, and shortly before his death, he was interviewed by Playboy magazine, where he blatantly asserted, "We must always remember to thank the CIA and the Army for LSD. They invented LSD to control people, and what they did was give us freedom," because that's what LSD does. It backfired on them. And then he said, "Look at the government reports on acid. Look at them." That's what he said. And indicating as well that he was aware of the extent to which he and other pop musicians had been set up to be used as dupes in massive social manipulation schemes. The governments are up to no good, guys. From early in 1972, John Lennon knew he was under surveillance, being followed in the streets and with his telephone tapped. More anonymously, in late 1972, he told Paul Krasner, a left-wing friend of Yoko Ono's in San Francisco from the early 1960s, "Listen, if anything happens to Yoko and me, it was not an accident." Another guy who was assassinated, JFK. This is the speech he gave just before he died. "The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society, and we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic intelligence, economic, scientific and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no secret is revealed. That is why the Athenian lawmaker Solon decreed it a crime for any citizen to shrink from controversy. I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people, confident that with your help, man will be what he was born to be, free and independent." Very bad, John. You talk like that, you're going to get whacked, okay, in this world, because there are some dark, sinister, evil people that run the show. Abraham Lincoln was whacked. This is what he said: "I see in the near future a crisis approaching that unnerves me and causes me to tremble for the safety of my country. Corporations." Corporations, guys, remember, because later on you're going to see how I tie all this in, that corporations are absolutely behind most of the trouble that we're having in the world, and you'll be surprised at who corporations are. Most of Christianity is incorporated. That's a corporation doing business. We'll get to that later. Corporations have been enthroned. An era of corruption in high places will follow, and the money power of the country will endeavour to prolong its reign by working upon the prejudices of the people until the wealth is aggregated in a few hands and the republic, remember that, republic, is destroyed, because Abraham Lincoln was still living in the republic. It's become a democracy because democracy, as I read before, democracy is nothing more than mob rule. Thomas Jefferson, he should know, big politician. So we notice that he's talking about corporations, okay, and the republic will be destroyed, and all the wealth will be aggregated in the hands of a very, very few people. That's what's happened. $20 billion have gone into the hands of very, very wealthy families around the world, and they're laughing at us. They're laughing at the rest of mankind, and there are 2 billion of humanity starving to death at this very moment, while they drink water out of gold taps. When they turn their taps on, they're touching gold to drink that water, those people. And they're laughing at the rest of mankind. Those 3 people were whacked. Okay? What they exposed to the world, Abraham Lincoln exposed that it's the corporations. JFK exposed that it's the societies, the secret societies. John Lennon exposed what they're up to, manipulating society. They're evil and they're powerful. What I'm going to share with you is the biggest lie that they have perpetuated to mankind. I'm going to expose that lie, and it's got to do with religion and the historicity of a certain Jesus Christ. If you do your studies, you will find, without a doubt, that that is the biggest lie that was ever invented by these evil families, their corporations, because they're all incorporated. All Christian churches are doing business. They are business empires run by the secret hand. The world we live in, doctors destroy health, lawyers destroy justice, psychiatrists destroy minds, scientists destroy truth, major media destroys information, religions destroy spirituality, and governments destroy freedom. Michael Elner. Arthur Schopenhauer, philosopher. If you want to make someone angry, tell him a lie. If you want to make him furious, tell him the truth. All truth passes through 3 stages. First, it is ridiculed. Secondly, it is violently opposed. And third, it is accepted as self-evident. Guys, I'd like to have a theme for what I'm going to talk about tonight. And the theme is out of this book here, Humboldt's Cosmos. This guy was a explorer, scientist, and he was one of the first ones in the world to have acknowledged that the continents of Africa and South America were once one continent. So this is the guy, right? He's one of the first ones to acknowledge that. So I'm just pointing that out so that you know that this guy is an important man in history, and this is a great book. Here's the 3 words at the beginning. This is how he introduced his book. Everything is interrelated. Everything is interrelated. All the sciences are one. In our world, where we've gone wrong is that sciences have been separated and compartmentalised and specialised and torn to, just like our religions. Divide and conquer is the reason for that. Every subject, everything, every science is interrelated. Everything is. And secondly, I just want to also read something from this book, Thomas Burgoyne, who wrote in the late 1800s, The Light of Egypt, Volume 1. And this explains how we got into the mess that we're in and how we've allowed it to happen. Speaking about the truth of reality and the truth of appearances, because truth is dual. It's dual nature. There's the truth of reality and there's the truth of appearances. Okay? And he's talking here about how some people believe that they're not deceived and they understand the truth of reality, but in fact they haven't, because their head is full of too much institutionalised science, which is lies. What you learn in your university, what we've been learning since kindergarten, primary, secondary and tertiary education, is virtually just a pack of lies. They are lies. Sure, you can learn how to be a boilermaker, you can learn how to be a scientist, and you can learn all those things, but you're only learning one thing. Most people are specialising in one thing, and they don't realise that all sciences and all knowledge is interrelated.